Hello, everybody. Thank you for waiting today to start this webinar info session about the Scaleup Bootcamp Mexico. We apologize for the inconvenience that we couldn't be here exactly at 12. Today, as many of you that are in Toronto probably know that we have a big storm outside, so we were trying to coordinate with our staff, all about this webinar, and everybody's kind of like working remotely today. So let's start with this info session because we know many people have a lot of questions, especially regarding, how the program works, like what is the benefit in general for the startups that are going to be part of this specific Scaleup Bootcamp. And let me tell you something before we start with the details about the Scaleup Bootcamp. We have done this in the past, in 2018, actually. We have a Scaleup Bootcamp in Mexico with 40 startups. It was a great experience with them. At that time, we didn't have any specific startups from Canada, and we have from other countries. We have an extended network of companies and people all around Latin America, and of course in Canada. We are working with the city of Toronto in a specific. We are working with NACO as members of the National Capital Organization, Capital Angel Organization here. So for us, it's very important to support Canadian startups as well, not just the Latin Americans that are coming here. But, it has been difficult to understand what is the necessity for the Canadian startups, especially because most of the Canadian startups are very conservative about entering to emerging markets. So we're trying to do our best to motivate the startups and to give the right reasons why to go to Mexico in particular, or any other of the Latin American ecosystems that we have right now that are, in good shape to receive international startups. So going to the next slide, first of all, I know you may have a lot of questions after we finish this webinar. Most of the questions are actually arriving to our email to contact@latamstartups.org. So please, if you have any questions while I'm speaking here, just send it to us to our contact@latamstartups.org, or you can also post that in the YouTube channel, under the comment sections of this video presentation. And we will reply to you after the webinar finish. If you send it to the contact email address, then we will be able to actually, answer your question while we are in the webinar. So that's very important. So please take, that in consideration if you have any questions right now. Now, we go first with some specific things that people need to know about Latin America. When we have in the past Canadian startups approaching to us and asking us about Latin America, they usually ask, where in Latin America should I start? What is the economic and political situation? What is the right environment for us to start growing? Those are very fair questions, and it's a little bit complicated for international startups to understand what was the best point of entry in Latin America, since we have like 26 countries, right? So we usually recommend the startups to start through Pacific Alliance countries, which is Mexico, Peru, Chile, and Colombia. Why is that? It's because, those countries are actually with an FTA with Canada. That means that we have a free trade agreement with Canada. So they have, a very stable economy and political, stable. And they are also the ones that are leading the market in regards of, number of startups and adoption of new technologies and all that. So that's why we usually recommend to go through Pacific Alliance first. Now, the second option is always Brazil, because the market size and all that. But Brazil has certain conditions that are known for all startups, because it's a huge market. It's a market that requires more attention than the others, and it requires a different type of strategy to actually reach out. And the third option is Argentina and Uruguay, which are very unique markets. And, they have also an excellent environment right now for international startups. But it's a little bit far away. People don't know much about Uruguay or Argentina. Probably people know about Mexico and Brazil, but Uruguay and Argentina keeps, like silent for many of the Canadian startups that want to know, that know information about Latin America in general. So in between the Pacific Alliance, Mexico is the one that has the market size. So 122 people is the market size of Mexico. One of the points of entry certainly is the bridge between North America and Latin America. Mexico is considered part of North America. So you can joke about NAFTA and all this, but we still have a free trade agreement with Mexico that is working, and so far it has worked for other Canadian companies that have been able to enter to this market. So it's very important also because Mexico is one of the early adopters. So more than half of the population, for example, have problems with the financial let's say sector, because more of the half of the population actually don't have access to financial services, for example, and that is a great opportunity for international startups in fintech. That's one of the examples that we want to give. This is also certainly a very mature market in compare with any other markets in Latin America. So that's why we recommend a lot of Mexico. Mexico works a lot with the US, of course, because of it's very close to them. So you will see there is a lot of startups and people that are related with Silicon Valley because they are kind of closer, they are closer to California. So they get all the, let's say, news and connections there. So that's why, Mexico is a good market for Canadian startups as well, because they already kind of understand, how things work for North America. So this is one of the reasons. So let's go to the next topic, that is what type of company should apply. We have received a lot of applications for Canadian companies that are actually not prepared for this bootcamp for Mexico. So unfortunately, we have sometimes to reject applications. So what type of companies we're looking for is the type of companies we can help. We certainly have the connections and support to help them, but we need to have certain profiles of those companies. So first of all, we like to see profiles in fintech, artificial intelligence, IoT, agricultural technology. Those are most of the strongest sectors that are kind of adopting new technologies in Mexico. And other sectors related with sports and creative industries are also accepted. Now, of course, there are a bunch of other type of technology companies that are not, named here. We work with most of technology companies, most of them. Which we don't work is, for example, biotechnology is very difficult for us because, the sector is difficult to navigate, and specifically in Mexico. So we try to don't work with biotechnology companies because of that. Creative industries is like a gray area. If it's something related with virtual reality or artificial intelligence in the creative industries, we certainly can work with them because we have the connections there. So the other thing that companies should consider is that if they have enough sales in Canada, they are looking to increase their customer and user base. If that's the case, and you're looking for new customers, international customers, user base, certainly we are looking for you. And one of the things that people are usually afraid is that, they don't speak Spanish. You don't require Spanish for this specific bootcamp because all our network, the network that we're working here and we're working in Mexico, are people that are English speakers, or at least they have a conversational level in English. So we are not going to connect you with people that are not going to be able to communicate with you at the same level. of course, in Latin America, this is always a challenge when you go there and you don't have the language. It's the same thing for a Latin American startup when they come here to Canada and they are expecting things to be in Spanish, perhaps, or Portuguese. That doesn't happen because the whole ecosystem is English. And here, certainly, we don't have enough community that speaks other language in order to give them that opportunity. But in Mexico, we actually have a lot of connections, a lot of people that are relevant for these startups that speak the language, of English speakers. So we don't have that problem in a specific with them. So don't be afraid of that part. We understand that part, and we are helping you to navigate this specific challenge. So what the program offers. So we are going to start with some training sessions in Toronto, actually. And these training sessions are, for example, related of how we are targeting international customers, in a specific, of course, in the Mexican market, identify weakness and opportunities of growth for your company. We want to make sure that you actually understand what are the real opportunities there. But we also want to, point out the challenges that you may face, at the time that you're trying to target customers there. Sales projection in the market. So we need to, know better, like what is the specific, sales projection that you're going to have. So we try to work with different, basically people in Mexico that can provide us, some help on that. And that will help you as well to, navigate through this challenge to know what is the sales projection for you. The legal aspects and tax impact for your company. This is also very important for the international startups, because most of them are thinking, what if I try to establish a corporation there? Should I do that? Should I find a partner? What is the best way? And if I do that, what is the tax implication for me? How is that going to work with Canada in specific? So we are going to have all that information for you guys, and you can have that information to navigate this. And the other aspect here is the preparation to make presentations in the market. So that preparation is very important, because the way that we present here in Canada is a little bit different of how people in Mexico expect you to present to them. It tends to be a little bit more like longer presentations that we do here. People want to see more details about your company, and they want to know that you're actually serious about entering into this market. In many ways, I will say that, Mexican customers are very much like Canadians, in the way that they trust people that they know, and they want to build a relationship with the client, or with the provider or the supplier. So they want to have this relationship, but the way that they do it is a bit different that we do it here in Canada. So we navigate through that part. So those sessions are going to happen here in June 5th, from June 5th to June 7th, and we are going through all this. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit more in the next slides, because really the bootcamp doesn't start in June 5th. It actually starts virtually before, when you connect with your volunteer in marketing and business development. But this is a session that is going to happen in presence in our offices here in Toronto. So we are located in Spadina and Queen. And over there, we are going to have the training sessions for the Canadian startups. Now, this is the second part of the program, is the market validation in Mexico City. So we are going to have a list of key contacts that you're going to visit in the market. That's the first day. We are going to have a full day of, visiting potential customers, potential partners, people that can help you, to connect with those that can buy your services or products, and those that can guide you through the the whole ecosystem. We are meeting with angel investors, of course, because sometimes there are opportunities there for actually get funding. Some angel investors actually like a lot to fund international startups more than the local startups. This may actually hear a little bit weird for you, but this is actually part of the perception of angel investment in Latin America. Sometimes they really like international startups more than the locals, and that's unfortunate for the local startups that are there. Sometimes the priorities for the international startups. So that represents a good opportunity for you guys to have a first meeting with them, understand, if there is any possibility for you to get funding there. So that's going to be quite one of the points. And then we are going to have a meetup to showcase your startup, to the community. So that meetup is with the whole community that we have in Mexico. So this is kind of a demo day, let's say. We're hoping to have at least 3 companies in this demo day. So this is not going to be like a trade mission or regular trade mission that you have probably been in other countries. This is very specific, focus on you, very customized on you in your startup. So that's why we are trying to select the best that fit with this type of bootcamp in a specific. So how is the application process? I think most of you have done or have seen, the application in GUST. If not, please go to GUST, to programs. I'm Scaleup Bootcamp Mexico. This is the link. Unfortunately, you're kind of like a click there right now. But if you go to GUST, and you go to basically LATAM Startups, the profile of LATAM Startups, you're going to see there the profile of this specific bootcamp is the ones that are open right now, is the ones that are showing there. So I'm going to give like a 20 seconds, 30 seconds here if you want to go and see the website while I continue my presentation. So I'll give you 20 seconds and I continue. Okay, so hopefully, if you haven't gone to this, this link, you will go later. Just let us know. Let us know what if you find the link or not. We can send it to you. We can send it to you after the webinar. So what happened when you actually put the application there? We evaluate all the applications. We pass through an interview. It's a very simple interview. We are asking questions about your company to understand better your business model, to understand better when specifically you are targeting this market, and how do you like to customize the program in your perspective. We can discuss certain aspects of the program and understand what are your milestones basically, and we are trying to cooperate as much as we can with the resources we have in order to help you to navigate through this. Now, we notify the startup when it's accepted. Usually this happens very fast after the interview. In the acceptance letter, basically, we would like to, extend an invitation to you and your another co-founders, maximum 2 co-founders that can attend this bootcamp, to be part of the bootcamp. Payments are made. Then, this bootcamp has a cost of $850 American dollars. So you made the payment, either as credit card, direct deposit, Interact, whatever is best for you. And once it's that, we assign volunteer in marketing and business development that is going to be working with you virtually. This is the virtual part that I mentioned before. So people are working with you here. Those people that are assigned to you or that it could be one person, it could be two volunteers. It depends. Sometimes we have the opportunity to have two volunteers when with one startup. So those people assigned are people that we have to interview and look through, different networks and, people that we know that they understand how things work in Mexico, and they will help you to build up all the milestones and aspects of what is the, what is the market entry strategy for this part. So the volunteer really keeps a good work, with you guys. So immediately when we start accepting the startup, we start looking for the volunteer. After payments are made, we start to make a connection, and then this all happens virtually. You're going to be meeting with your volunteer, and then in the in June 5th to 7th, you are going to meet in person with your volunteer. Before that, you're going to be working just remotely. But June 5th to the 7th, you're going to work here in Toronto with your local volunteer on this. And then, we start the bootcamp. So some additional information that can be good for you is to understand that also the government has some possibilities for Canadian startups to actually, join this type of programs. So one is the Canada Export or Can Export program from the government of Canada. So these are the requirements basically that you need to have in order to apply for the Can Export program. And if you're curious about this, we cannot guarantee that the government is going to give you support or money to actually go to Mexico. But what we can do is actually, connect you with some of the companies that work in propose, this type of funding for you. So we have a specific company, for example, they are an advisor, and they have helped in the past other startups in going through different type of funding processes. So they take a commission when the funding is actually there for you. So if the funding doesn't happen, they are not going to ask you any money. But if they actually get the funding for you, they are going to ask a commission. I'm not sure about the percent because that depends of the program. But if you want to apply for this, we certainly are able to connect you with the right people, to see if you're eligible to get some funding from the government to go to this specific bootcamp. So now we don't depend again on this because, this can happen, this cannot happen. We just want to give you a tool for you as a Canadian startup to see that, the government has sometimes that funding available for the local startups that we are here. The other thing that you have to consider also is that we are going to have a meetup here in Toronto that is Mexico in the Spotlight, similar to the one that we are doing right now with Brazil, which is Brazil in the Spotlight, that is happening at the end of this month. And that specific bootcamp, a specific meetup about Mexico, you're going to present here also. This is before the trip to Mexico, but we have a local community here of Mexicans that are basically helping also Canadian startups and all that. So we would like to have a presentation with them and let them know that you guys are going to Mexico, and then have some extra connections and have community for you to rely on in case that you need to amplify the message with other parts of the community. So you're going to have connections here, you're going to have connections there. Besides that, you also are going to be part of our Slack group, which is a very good group of startups from different parts of Latin America and volunteers as well. We have from Latin America, Canada, and the US, and those connections are very valuable for you. In specific, if in the future you want to scale up to other countries in Latin America, different to Mexico or different to Mexico that you're applying right now. So if you want, for example, to connect with Brazil or Colombia or Peru or Chile, we have startups that have passed through our programs that they are from those countries, and they are happy to connect you as well when, you know, times come for that part. So there is a lot of benefits to actually be part of the program. And, you know, this is one of them. And, you know, if you want to apply for the program, we certainly can see your specific, you know, situation and what are the milestones that you want to apply for this program in particular. Now, the final benefit with the program is that actually you have free passes for the LATAM Startups Conference in May 16. This is a conference for 600 people. All from Latin America. Some of the people that are part of our community members, they already have passes, but this is a great, you know, community that we have this year. We're growing the conference to, you know, doubling the number of people attending the conference. So for us, you know, for those that are coming to Mexico, we are giving free passes for the conference that is in May 16. May 17, we have the Startup Ecosystem Tour. There are no passes for that day, but for the May 16, certainly you can stay the whole day at the conference. We are more than happy to extend that invitation for you guys, for those that are selected to be part of this bootcamp. Finally, we got to the questions, comments of this presentation right now. So for now, we haven't received a question through the contact at latamstartups.org. I imagine that you are probably processing the information at this point and trying to evaluate if this is a good opportunity for you. This is all okay for us, and, you know, try to your best to evaluate if this is something that is going to be relevant for you and your company. If that's the case, please contact us if you have more questions or comments, or again, post it on the YouTube channel in the comment sections of this video presentation, and we'll be happy to get back to you as soon as we hear, you know, from you any comments or questions. So thank you so much for joining us today. This was basically an info session about this Scaleup Bootcamp. We hope that, you know, this clarifies some of your doubts about this program. You can also, you know, contact the City of Toronto, Enterprise Toronto startup here in Toronto. They know about this program in particular because we work very close with the city. And, you know, we are trying our best to help you guys to grow in international markets. So if that's your goal, that's your case, please apply for this bootcamp, and we will happy to hear from you. Again, try to see the requirements, try to see if your company is actually a technology company. Unfortunately, we don't work with you know, traditional companies, and that's, I think I mentioned that before, but if not, those are companies, for example, that are doing consulting, or they do they trade with products that are in the traditional sector. We don't have a network in those areas, unfortunately, for companies that are in those areas in traditional sectors. But certainly, if you are a technology company and you have a product or service that is very innovative and can be adapted into these emerging markets, we are happy to hear from you. So thank you so much for staying with us today in this webinar. And keep in touch. We are going to pass this presentation and some information to you through our Eventbrite message system. Thank you so much for staying today, and bye for now.